Welcome to the first Eclipse OpenJ9 community call of 2022. Happy New Year, everyone. As always, please add your name and affiliation to the list of attendees just so we have some idea of who's regularly attending the calls. And then I'll pause here for anyone to add items to the agenda that aren't already present. If there's something you want to bring up, feel free to chime in now, or at any point throughout the meeting we can add things in either to the any other business section at the end or anywhere where they may fit.
Hey Dan, can you hear me?
Yes, Ken.
So there's been some OSX work for Java course where we can see native stacks on OSX in OSX Java course. So I just wanted to know if it would be a good topic to share because there were some technical challenges which we had to resolve. Plus, it also adds a new user feature for diagnosis.
Are you talking about just a general topic or as a lightning talk?
As a quick lightning talk.
Yeah, if you want to pull something together, would be interesting to share the technical details and expose more users to it.
Okay. So
so that's on OSX. That's stacks.
Yep. Native stacks in OSX Java course. We can add Eric. I think Eric was responsible for the work, so we can have Eric involved with this.
Do you guys?
Are you talking about, I think it's what, 6267, the PR? Because it's still a ways from complete from my perspective.
Yeah. So it's for future. So as the work gets completed, we can simultaneously work on a presentation, which can be delivered once the work gets merged.
So when we're talking about scheduling this, you're not looking at next week, you're looking at something further in the future.
Yes, maybe a month or, yep.
Thanks, Bavneet. We'll get that, reach out to me when we get closer to being ready for that, and we'll get it scheduled to an exact meeting.
Okay.
Are there any other lightning talks that people would like to propose? Do feel free to reach out to me on Slack or through email or any other way, and we'll get anything scheduled in if you have a lightning talk you wanted to give. So with that, why don't we take a look at the recent end user issues. So looking at this, I see a couple that have come in over the break. Looks like most of them have some level of conversation happening in them. Survivor space issue has a single comment. Has that been? Flagged for Dimitri and Alex, so hopefully they're able to pick that up. See Dimitri's on the call.
Yeah, we are aware about this issue.
Thanks, Dimitri. Is there anything else in this list that's come in recently or even longer that needs some discussion today? All right, we'll jump back to the agenda. We'll take a look at the download stats from the old Adopt OpenJDK. There are still download stats here. I'm just wondering how relevant these stats are to our community. Is this something we want to continue to monitor, or is this worth taking out of the agenda? Anyone have particular opinions here?
I'd be in support of removing it from the agenda unless, something special happens and we want to talk about it at a particular meeting, but I don't think it needs to be on a weekly basis.
That was kind of my feeling as well. So
Is there an equivalent tracking from the Semaru site? As now, I guess people are downloading an open edition, which would be kind of relevant to OpenJ9. They're downloading from both this API and from the Semaru open edition.
We don't have one yet. It was on our wish list to basically fork this.
Yeah.
Pointed at our repos.
Yeah, I mean, from this meeting, I don't know that there's value here, but for the team, it might be interesting to note some of the trends once in a while.
Agree.
okay. On that basis, then I will remove this from the agenda, and hopefully if a new tracking trend becomes available for the Semaru open runtimes, that would be great. We can take a look at that in the future, and otherwise, I guess we'll continue on without it. All right, that brings us to the release roadmaps. And so we have the 030 release coming up to our schedule. The GA is set to start on January 18th, so in 1 week. I still see at least 2 open blockers, so I'm going to pull up the milestone plan. Thought when I was looking earlier, I saw a couple more blockers. Yeah, I'm seeing 4 items in here marked as blockers.
Yeah, I'll update the stats, but I think we should go through all of the items in this plan. It's been whittled down as much as I can whittle it. And at this point, it looks to me like we're going to be delaying the release. So I think we need to talk about some of these.
Well, why don't we take them from the top of the list then? The DAA test.
I think I left this one in because there was a possible fix for it. Is that true? Or am I confusing it with something else?
It says the fix is in 030.
Right. Oh, yeah. So we had thought we'd fixed it, but the problem still occurs. So I guess I just wanted people to be aware, and if Daryl's okay to move it out. I'm not sure he's on the call today. That would be fine.
So let's. Right, I've pinged Daryl on that one, so we've got a next action there. The next one here is marked as a blocker. So we scroll down to see this is still occurring.
So yeah, this is the 021 test. That was the new test, and we thought we had a fix for it, but the fix didn't fix it. So it is a new test, so I'm on the fence about it needing to be a blocker. There is a problem here, but I don't know that it needs to be a blocking problem. It does fail quite regularly, though, so it would be nice to get it fixed.
Mark, do you by any chance have a view on the state of any of these JIT items? Do you or Marius or see who else might be able to stand in for Daryl?
Personally, I'm not up to date.
Okay. So with this one, the big question for me was, does this occur only under involuntary OSR, i.e. when running under the debugger, or does this occur for induced OSRs as well? And I don't recall what the state of the answer was on that. Sounds like we may need to connect with Daryl to find out the state on this one.
Yeah, that might be the case for more than one in this list.
Okay. This one also appears to be a seg fault with the JIT. This looks similar again. This is another decompilation crash. Babneet, do you know, is this assumed to be similar to the other issue with decompiling around particular recognized methods?
I didn't dig into that. I think this one was. This was difficult to debug. So it's a large test case, so I couldn't pinpoint if it's similar to any existing issue. But then it did have symptoms related to decompilation. So, and I think in the previous decompilation issues, they mentioned that it can be caused by any optimization. So it's difficult to say if it's identical to any existing issue.
Right, I will ping Daryl on this as well. Next one is also a JIT compilation issue.
I think this is the one where we thought we had a fix. And I suppose we could defer it, but I didn't want to be the one making that decision.
Yeah, it looks like we have an open pull request for this. Given the issue is tagged against 030, I will tag the pull request against that as well. Sorry, Daryl, your mentions are going to get hammered on this.
Tried to
All
ping him to
right.
see if he could join, but he doesn't seem to be available, unfortunately. So pings he'll have to get.
So I think that brings us to this one, which is a JDK 11 security issue.
So this one seemed to be failing 100% on Power 10, and I wasn't sure if it was a Power 10 issue or just a machine setup issue.
Looks like it's been sent to Jackie, so we'll have to give that a little bit of time to get looked at. Next blocker.
So this one appeared to be a regression, and it's failing regularly.
Big Annabelle and see if there's an update on this. The inexplicable deadlock.
Yeah, it seemed like a very concerning problem, so I didn't set it as a blocker, but I wasn't comfortable just moving it out.
Do we have the diagnostic data we need at this point?
Well, we're still waiting for them to give us a core.
Okay. Toby, can I get you to follow up with them and chase on the core a bit?
Sure.
So Scala code compiled differently.
So that seems to be a JIT issue. When the JIT's enabled, you get incorrect results, which again seems a concerning issue.
An SSL we can skip over because we'll just update that at the.
Well, just a comment, there was a bug fix release 111M, so we've updated all the platforms except Windows, and I hope Windows is in progress, and we intend to be using 111M for the release.
Yeah, I was doing that last night. I got the Semru machines internally done, so that was my first priority, and then next would be the OpenJ9 external machines.
Adam? Method handle.
Yeah, so this seemed like it might be a problem with method handles in Java 17, considering that we switched OpenJDK method handles for 17. Seemed like something worth investigating.
Yeah, this one, we just don't have enough information. I think the person who opened the issue suspects it's from a recent change to method handle resolve, but taking a look at that code, I still can't see how that could have caused a problem. So it's one where we'll need more information.
Should we move it out? We can't do anything?
Yeah, unless we get like more info this week, I'd say we should probably move this one out because I don't think it will be closed in time.
A command.
So
fails.
we rewrote the system dump creation on Mac, and it seems it doesn't work on maybe the latest OS version. So anybody using the latest, we're not going to be able to get diagnostics.
And I'm assuming the rewrite was for a particular purpose, so reverting is not a clear-cut option.
Well, the original code was using the OS to get core dumps, but the OS, we don't have permissions to get core dumps from the OS, I think is what the problem is. And so we implement it ourselves. And there's two problems with that. One is this problem on the OS 12.1, and the other one is we seem to hang a lot in our testing. It will create the core dump and then hang afterwards. It's not clear why it's hanging, but the core dump will have been created successfully. There's a different issue for that one.
ping Mike in this one then, see if we can get an update. Right. An SSL to 1.1.1.m. I believe we've covered that when we did open SSL above. Is that correct, Pete?
Yep. The next one you could skip over. We could talk about that later.
Memory management is not correct when using cgroup v2.
Yeah, so it seems like macOS made a change and doesn't support the C group that we are using with OpenJ9.
I think if I can say something, with Linux kernel 4.19 and above, C group v2 is the default. And currently we only support C group v1 in OMR. That's why OpenJ9 doesn't work well whenever the Linux kernel is greater than 4.19.
Oh, so this isn't related to Mac? I was confused about that.
So I think it's related to a Docker container, Linux Docker container. I think cgroup is only available on Linux. So any Linux Docker container with kernel 4.19 will have this issue.
Dan, you might want to open the issue linked in the description. I thought people were complaining about Mac.
Don't see an obvious thing tagging Mac in here.
The very first comment, doesn't it refer to Mac?
Docker for desktop for Mac. So Docker for desktop on Mac uses a Linux VM.
I see.
So there's a Linux VM hiding underneath here.
This potentially is... Sorry, go ahead, Dan.
I think I was going to the same place you were, so feel free.
Okay, I was going to say, this potentially will take some time to do the investigation of what needs to be done and then implement it. Suggesting that maybe we push this on to the next release.
We should push it to 0.32.
I think there's also a workaround where we can use the legacy cgroup v1 in Docker, which can help us avoid this issue.
Is that something we could do quickly that would make sense for this release so that people have a workaround?
It's something that the Docker users need to do. Because I think if we go to the IBM runtime CI Docker issue, there's a link to the workaround on the Docker end.
This?
Yes, if you go a few comments down, there should be a mention about cgroup v2.
Well, Vavneet, can you track that down and just make a clear statement in the OpenJ9 issue about what the workaround is?
Yes, I will do that. Yeah.
And then let's move this to 0.32.
Okay.
Pete, why 32 and not 31?
Well, I'm in progress of moving everything out of 31 that's not related to Java 18. I think we're going to have an issue shipping Java 18 on time, and we need to be clear about what needs to be done to get 18 out the door. So just because it's in 32 doesn't mean somebody can't be working on it, but You're not going to get your update for Java 8, Java 11, and 17 until 0.32.
Right, but to me, this is a container support, a base JDK issue. I'm not sure why we wouldn't try and get it into 18 and have it be ready to backport to the other releases after that.
I don't think there's anything preventing somebody from getting it done just because it's tagged against 32. I think we need to be clear about what needs to be done to get Java 18 out the door and whittle the 0.31 milestone to those essential things.
And I would suggest that shipping broken container support, continuing to ship broken container, it's going to depend on how clear the workaround is and how easy to apply that is. So I guess in that reason, I'm moving it to 32. My preference would be not to continue to ship things that we believe are broken. So that's, and then the Mac create core file test hang after creation.
Yeah, so I guess that's less of an issue because we do usually get the core file. It's just the JVM hangs then. Not clear why it's hanging. Definitely a service issue.
I see a lot of mentions of the problems, but I don't see a lot of investigation in here. Is there somebody actually looking at this?
Not that I've seen.
Toby, do you have somebody who could take a look at this?
Yeah, I'll get this assigned out.
Do we think that this should block or should be included in the 0.30 release, or that we should be moving this out?
I'm okay to move this one out.
Like to target 32 with this as well?
I think so.
All right, that brings us through the 0.30 milestone. For items in here, we'll have to circle back with, connect with Daryl. And I guess we'll do another pass through this after Daryl's had a chance to look at those items. We may need to book an extra meeting for this. But looking at that list, Pete, I agree with you that January 18th date is starting to look very optimistic. I guess we've always said we'd be targeting within 2 weeks of the OpenJDK release. So it's the 18th their release date, or does that already factor our 2 weeks in?
The 18th is the OpenJDK release date. That's the day we get all the security fixes. So that would be the start of when we start GAing. So that was the other issue in the milestone list that I said we could skip over. We did discuss having it written down that we would ship within 2 weeks, and if we can't ship within 2 weeks, we'd like to figure out when we could ship by. It'd be best to turn off white space for this one.
Yeah.
So regardless of whether you want to accept the wording here, if you accept the concept, then we do need to look at what's left in the milestone. And if we don't think we're going to be able to ship within 2 weeks, come up with another date.
Yeah, I'm actually, just to speak to you, I'm happy with the wording and the approach we're talking about here. I think the only thing is we need to update the adopt OpenJDK to adoptiums.
Yeah, I'll do that.
It's a little hard to estimate what our date would be at this point until we've talked to Daryl. I do agree we need to come up with a new date. Better understanding of what the JIT timeline is going to be for the blocker issues and the other issues in that plan.
Yeah, so it might be worth, we should contact Daryl and see when he thinks he'll be able to get up to speed on the issues remaining in the milestone plan so we can have that discussion. I prefer not to wait for another week to have it.
Agreed.
Like you said, that's going to depend on how long it takes Daryl to get up to speed on those issues.
Can I leave contacting Daryl in your hands?
Yep.
Happy to jump on a short call if needed along the way too, so can sort of schedule that by ear. For 031, the Java, I know.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I know we're at time, so if anybody does have to drop, apologies for having gone long this week. It's important that we continue through some of this. So anyone who can stay, please do. I was going to ask you about the schedule, Pete, if you had a chance to put dates to the tentative timeline.
I could put dates down, but there's a lot of issues. I was working my way through the milestone plan, moving out anything that didn't seem directly related to Java 18, so we could get a sense on what kind of work we have left to do. So we may, ideal would be to branch on January 29th, but if we think we're going to be late, maybe branching on January 29th is not the right thing to do. I haven't made it all the way through. I've only done part of it so far. So there's still things in here that can move out.
There's a lot of things in here tagged as 18, though.
Exactly. That's my concern. That I'm wondering if we're going to be able to make our Java 18 date, and if we don't think we're going to be able to make the Java 18 date, should we still be branching on that regular schedule? Because that's going to make more work to double deliver everything.
Yeah, looking at this list, hard to tell what the state of any of these particular items is, but this is a pretty long list. If we were talking a split on 29th, and what's the OpenJDK release date for this one again? It's
March
something?
No, it's April. Is it? No, it's March 22nd, something like that.
Yeah, it seems like we're going to want to delay that branch, at least until we've got that number of issues down somewhat from the 90-something it is now.
Yeah, so it will get smaller because I'm going to keep things that we've moved forward before. I'm going to move forward again and just try to leave things that are related to Java 18 in the list.
Okay.
And might need Daryl and Toby to take a pass through it as well, but I'll do an initial pass.
Yeah, I think it's probably worth tackling moving this date on the next call when it's been possible to take that initial pass through by yourself and Toby and Daryl. But I would agree with delaying the branch. Is there anything else we need to discuss for the Java 18 release?
Nothing for me.
In terms of the remaining sections here, if people can just call out anything that needs discussion today or imminently. Adopt. Shelley, anything critical?
Nothing to discuss. I added some links for people if they want to track the January release.
Thanks. Adam, anything critical for infrastructure?
No.
Actually, could we go back to Adoptium? It seems to me that the last time we delayed an OpenJ9 release that caused problems for Adoptium. But I think that was because the test material had to be frozen, but I don't think that's the case any longer.
Yeah, we're not going to freeze test repos anymore. We have this work that it's referenced here with the last CAN OSP students where we can refer to whatever tag we need to. So I don't think that's true. There is an outstanding PR in OpenJ9 that I need merged this week, though. That's to divide the test utilities out, because right now test utilities contains some J9 specific classes, and that's causing all of functional tests to fail at Adoptium against hotspot builds. So asked Lan to look at it, but I also tagged you, Peter.
Yeah, I approved it.
Okay, cool.
And I saw Lan put some links to some grinders, so maybe
Yeah,
they'll get
excellent.
delivered today.
Sweet. Yeah, then we're good. We're golden.
So OpenJ9's ready to use a fixed level of test material?
That part I don't know. I guess, Adam, do you have that use
I
test
haven't
on
done
properties?
changes. I don't know. I don't recall seeing changes go in for that.
Okay. Sophia's doing it currently for the Adoptium pipelines, like today. It's really just an additional Boolean parameter called use test env properties. I'll be tagging and creating a release branch. Today I was waiting for PRs to be in. So I guess we'll coordinate with you, Adam, or I'll talk with Lan today anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
There's one other thing I thought of. I'm not sure we have the right people on the call, except for Adam, but there was talk of moving compilation at Adoptium to use GCC 10.3.
Yeah, and that is proceeding, but it won't be turned on for January release.
Right.
And I did see, I think Keith put a note saying that's going to break OpenJ9 builds that we do nightly.
That's correct.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's my concern. So the plan was to update for Java 17 plus. So that's going to also affect our Java 18 release. If Adoptium makes the change for the Java 18 release, then OpenJ9 is not going to work so well anymore unless we make sure we're not doing that upgrade.
Right. So I believe the way Stuart's doing it, he's adding it, but keeping the older GCC available. So I guess we'll just have to make sure that both are still available and we're able to use, I don't know what's there right now, 8.5 or something, is it? Or anyway.
7.5.
7.5, yeah.
Yeah, that's the way I read Stuart's comments on Slack, is that 7.5 was going to be around still.
Yeah.
And I did point out that we don't want to switch away from that until we fix that issue.
Yeah, I saw you've linked to the actual issue. So yeah, I believe that is my belief as well, but thanks for reminding me, because we won't make any changes until after January release, and I'll make sure that we don't change the OpenJ9 side of things. Yeah.
Great. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Devin, anything critical to call out for CMake?
No, nothing particularly important there.
Marius, anything to call out for Jit server?
No, nothing important. And microjit, 2 days from now, it has on 13th.
Toby, anything critical to call out for snapshot restore?
The one thing is that we're targeting a beta release for May. So the next few months, we're going to try to ramp up on all aspects. So building, testing, making sure that what we have is stable, and then adding a few more compatibility features so that the Liberty team can make use of it for more realistic workloads.
I mentioned this to VJ, and hopefully he's passed it along, but some of the experiments that Ashu's been doing around CRIU have highlighted issues with migrating between machines that have different CPU IDs. You may want to look at some of the portability around this.
Yeah, so that's definitely on the list. There's a new project created in OpenJ9. I haven't made issues for all the known things that we're looking at, but that's where they'll go, and that's what we'll use to track our progress towards this beta release.
Jack, is there an update on the Project Loom efforts?
Not much. We have recently seen the update from OpenJDK that it will be targeted for Java 19 as a preview feature. So I'm going through the Jeff documentation to review the latest changes and start working on all the implementation.
Cheng, is there an update on Panama?
Dan, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. For the down code, and already merged the phase 1 code to the repo, and for the phase 2, 3, and 4, the code is still under review and updating code changes against comments. For the app call, in terms of primitive support, get start resolving the code conflicts because we have code change merging, and get start to work on the code changes against the latest API changes on the second incubator. That's about it.
Thanks, Cheng. I think we can skip the monitoring strategy again. We don't have Daryl, so I don't know that we have an update on the M1 work. Peter, Mark, given the PR for the change to release process, can we remove this from the agenda this week?
Yep.
All right, is there anything else critically that we need to handle this week before we call the meeting? And thanks. Thank you, Go ahead.
I was just going to say the same thing. Thanks.
And thanks, everybody, and we'll call the meeting for this week. We'll meet again next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.